The elevator malfunction lasted 5 minutes and 7 seconds, and I spent every one of them pretending I couldn't feel the weight of his silence or the way my body went still when he shifted his weight. Then he walked into the lobby, and 20 minutes later, Evander Carminati was missing, or dead, depending on who was telling the story. Except he wasn't. But I didn't know that for 3 months. I knew something was wrong the moment the elevator jolted to a stop. The lights flickered once, twice, then settled into a dimmer emergency mode. I glanced at my watch. 30 seconds, then a full minute, then 2. The car didn't move. It just hung there, humming like it was thinking about letting us fall. I was running late for a meeting with the events director, my tablet clutched against my chest, mentally cataloging which vendor contracts needed my signature before end of business. Then I registered him. He stood in the opposite corner, perfectly still, one hand resting loosely at his side. Charcoal suit, no tie, white shirt open at the collar, dark hair, sharp jawline, and eyes that hadn't left the door panel since I'd stepped in on the 38th floor. I'd worked guest relations and operations at the Aurelius for 4 years. I knew how to read people. This man didn't belong to the tech conference on 42 or the wedding party on 39. He belonged to the kind of wealth that didn't announce itself, the kind that made security directors nervous. "Maintenance will have us moving in a few minutes," I said, keeping my voice calm and professional. "The backup system usually kicks in within 5 minutes," he said. His voice was low, controlled, and it slid under my skin in a way that made me forget what I was going to say next. I nodded, swallowed, turned my attention back to my tablet like I had something urgent to review. I didn't. I was acutely, absurdly aware of him. The way he breathed, the faint scent of expensive cologne and something darker underneath, the fact that he still hadn't looked at me. The elevator creaked. I gripped my tablet tighter. "You work here," he said, not a question. "Operations coordinator," I replied. "If you need anything once we're—" "I don't." The lights flickered again. My heart kicked against my ribs, and I hated that I couldn't tell if it was the malfunction or him. He shifted his weight, and I went still. It was instinct. Prey, response. I didn't understand it then, but my body knew. This man was dangerous. The backup system engaged with a soft whir. The elevator jolted, then began its slow descent. I exhaled carefully, quietly, and watched the floor numbers tick downward. 37, 36, 35. He still didn't look at me. When the doors finally opened onto the lobby, he stepped out without a word, without a glance, and disappeared into the controlled chaos of afternoon check-ins and luggage carts. I stood there for 3 seconds longer than I should have, watching him go. Then I shook it off and went back to work. 20 minutes later, I was in the security office reviewing camera logs for a guest complaint, when Dmitri, our head of security, got the call. I didn't hear the words. I just saw his face change. "Lock it down," he said into his radio. "Now, no one in or out until NYPD arrives." My stomach dropped. "What happened?" He didn't answer. He was already moving, barking orders, pulling up exterior camera feeds. I stood up. "Dmitri, stay here, Isolde." But I could see the screen from where I stood. The side exit on Lexington. A black town car idling at the curb. 2 men in suits flanking the door. That camera only covered the curb, not the interior vestibule or the door itself. The vestibule camera had been down for maintenance since noon, so we couldn't see anyone actually crossing the threshold. All we had was a car waiting, no proof Evander ever stepped outside. And nothing else. No arrival, no departure, just gone. The police came, then more police, then people in suits who didn't identify themselves but made even the detectives step back. I was pulled into a conference room at 6 p.m. 2 men, 1 woman, all wearing the kind of neutral expressions that came from years of practice. "Miss Merrick," the woman said, sitting across from me, "we need to ask you a few questions about the elevator malfunction this afternoon." My mouth went dry. I already gave my statement to. "We know. This is a follow-up." She folded her hands on the table. "You were alone in the elevator with a guest for approximately 5 minutes. Is that correct?" "Yes." The backup system engaged, and we descended normally. He exited on the lobby level, I went back to work. Did he speak to you? Barely. He asked if I worked here. I said yes. That was it. Did he make any calls? Send any messages? No, he just stood there. The man on the left leaned forward. Did you notice anything unusual about his behavior? I hesitated. He was quiet, calm. He didn't seem worried about the malfunction. Anything else? He made my pulse stutter. He made me forget how to breathe. No, I said. The woman's expression didn't change. Miss Merrick, the man you were in the elevator with was Evander Carminati. Does that name mean anything to you? No. It was the truth. I didn't follow organized crime. I didn't watch mob documentaries. I kept my head down, did my job, and went home to my cramped one-bedroom in Queens. He was reported missing shortly after exiting your hotel, she continued. We have footage of him entering the elevator. We have footage of him exiting onto the lobby level, but we have no footage of him leaving the building. My heart was pounding now. That's not possible. Every exit has cameras. Exactly. The silence stretched. I don't understand what you're asking me, I said carefully. The man on the right spoke for the first time. We're not asking you anything, Miss Merrick. We're telling you. You were the last person to see Evander Carminati before he disappeared. They let me go at midnight. I took the subway home in a daze, my hands shaking so badly I could barely swipe my MetroCard. Evander Carminati. I looked him up on my phone. The search results made my stomach turn. Carminati family, organized crime, racketeering, money laundering, suspected ties to... I stopped reading. I climbed the 4 flights to my apartment, unlocked the door, and stood in the dark for a long time. My phone buzzed. A text from my sister. Emma's flight lands Friday at 10 a.m. She's so excited to stay with you for the summer program. Thank you again for this, Isolde. Love you. Emma. My 18-year-old niece. Brilliant, fearless, completely unprepared for the kind of danger I'd just been pulled into. I texted back, can't wait, love you too. Then I sat on the edge of my bed and tried to convince myself that this would blow over. It didn't. The man in the charcoal suit appeared at my apartment door the next day. Not Evander, someone else. Older, silver-haired. Expensive watch, tailored coat, and 2 younger men flanking him like shadows. Miss Merrick, he said when I opened the door. My name is Benedetto Carminati. I believe you've already met my nephew. I should have slammed the door. I didn't. I don't know what you're talking about, I said. The elevator. His smile didn't reach his eyes. 5 minutes and 7 seconds. I'm told the security logs are very precise. My pulse was screaming. I gave my statement to the police. I don't have anything else to... The police are no longer involved. He stepped closer, and I smelled cigar smoke and old leather. This is a family matter now. I'm not family. No, he agreed. But you were the last person to see Evander alive. And in our world, Miss Merrick, that makes you valuable. I gripped the doorframe. I don't know anything. I didn't see anything. I was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Perhaps. He tilted his head. Or perhaps you were in exactly the right place. Either way, you have a choice to make. I'm not making any choices with you. Then let me simplify it. His voice dropped, losing all pretense of warmth. Evander Carminati is dead. His enemies are circling. And you, Miss Merrick, are a loose end. You can tie yourself to us, accept our protection, and play the role we need you to play. Or you can refuse, and we will let the rival families know exactly where to find you. My throat closed. What role? I whispered. Widow? I stared at him. You were seen with him, Benedetto continued. You were alone with him in a confined space, minutes before he died. The narrative is already written. All you have to do is step into it. That's insane. I didn't even know him. Irrelevant. Perception is control, Miss Merrick. And right now, the perception that Evander Carminati's last moments were spent with a woman, a trusted companion, a secret relationship, keeps certain people from asking inconvenient questions. I won't do it. Then you'll die. He said it so simply, so matter-of-factly, that I almost didn't register the words. The Volkov family is already asking questions. The DeLuca syndicate is watching. If we don't control the narrative, they will. And they won't be as polite as we've been. I couldn't breathe. You have until tomorrow morning, Benedetto said. After that, I stop caring whether you cooperate or not. He turned to leave, then paused. One more thing. You have a niece. Emma, is it? 18 years old. Coming to stay with you for the summer. He glanced back at me. It would be a shame if she arrived to find complications. Then he was gone. I locked the door, slid down to the floor, and pressed my palms against my eyes until I stopped shaking. I called my sister at 6 a.m. Isolde, she sounded groggy. Is everything okay? I need you to cancel Emma's trip. Silence. What? Why? She's been looking forward to this for months. Something came up at work. I won't have time to... Isolde, she's already packed. The flight is in 4 days. I closed my eyes. Then tell her I'm sorry. What is going on? Nothing. You're lying. I was. I'd always been a terrible liar with my sister. Please, I said. Just trust me. Another silence, longer this time. She'll be devastated, my sister said quietly. I know. Fine, I'll tell her. She hung up. I sat on my couch and stared at the wall until my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Your niece can still come to New York, Miss Merrick. Under our protection. Make the right choice. I threw the phone across the room. I showed up at the address Benedetto had given me at 9 a.m. the next morning. A brownstone in the West Village. Expensive. Quiet. The kind of place that didn't advertise itself. The door opened before I could knock. Benedetto stood there, looking unsurprised. Good choice. If anything happens to my niece, nothing will happen to her as long as you cooperate. He stepped aside. Come in. We have a great deal to discuss. I walked into the darkness and heard the door lock behind me. The room smelled like old money and cigar smoke. Benedetto gestured to a leather chair. I didn't sit. The terms, I said. He raised an eyebrow. You're not in a position to negotiate terms, Miss Merrick. Then you're not in a position to control the narrative. I kept my voice steady, even though my hands were shaking. If I'm going to sell this, I need leverage, real protection, not just empty promises. Something shifted in his expression. Not respect, calculation. Go on. My family stays untouched. My sister, her husband, my niece, none of them get pulled into this. Ever. If rival families come asking questions, you handle it, not me. Agreed. I want independence. I'll play widow at your events, your meetings, whatever public appearances you need. But I'm not living in some compound under guard. I want my own space. There's a guest house on the Westchester estate, Benedetto said. Separate entrance. You'll have privacy, but you'll be close enough for optics. And my niece can still visit. Under protection, but she stays with me. No guards hovering, no one making her feel like a prisoner. As long as she doesn't become a liability. She won't, I swallowed. And I want an exit condition, a time limit, 6 months, a year, something that ends this. Benedetto smiled. It wasn't warm. Miss Merrick, this ends when we say it ends, when the power structure stabilizes, when rival families stop circling, when Evander's death is no longer a question mark. He leaned forward. You cooperate fully, you play your role well, and when this is over, you walk away clean. Public clearance. Your name removed from every report we can reach. A signed statement that you were never a suspect. And safe passage back to your life. Or maybe a new identity if you want it. Relocation. Enough money to disappear. It wasn't what I wanted, but it was more than I'd had 5 minutes ago. Fine, I said. Excellent. He pulled a phone from his pocket and made a call. Bring the car around. Miss Merrick is ready to begin her new life. 3 months later, I was still playing the part. I'd learned how to smile at charity galas, how to stand beside empty chairs at family dinners and pretend the grief was real, how to deflect questions from journalists with practiced, elegant silence. I lived in the guest house, a converted carriage house with tall windows and too much security. Emma was supposed to arrive that first Friday. I delayed it, lied to my sister, begged for a reschedule, bought myself time. Benedetto eventually pulled strings with the program, so her start date shifted on paper, clean and believable, and she arrived weeks later thinking it was normal, thrilled to be in New York for her summer program. I'd managed to keep her insulated from the worst of it. Mostly, Cassian Rochefort had started appearing at events, Benedetto's handshake with the legitimate world, polished enough for cameras, connected enough to make rivals hesitate, polished, charming, always positioned just close enough to me that photographers caught us in the same frame. Benedetto's choice for stability. The man who was supposed to help me move on. The man I was supposed to let claim me. I hated every second of it. I was reviewing security logs in the estate's main office, old habits from my hotel days, and the one task Benedetto's people actually trusted me with. When the door opened behind me, I didn't turn around. "I'm almost done. The quarterly report will be ready by—" "You're very thorough." The voice stopped my heart. Low, controlled. The same voice that had said 5 minutes in a broken elevator 3 months ago. I turned slowly. Evander Carminati stood in the doorway. Alive. He looked leaner than I remembered. Harder. There was a faint scar along his jaw that hadn't been there before. But his eyes, dark, sharp, unreadable, were exactly the same. "Hello, Isolde," he said quietly. And I realized, with creeping horror, that I'd just become the prime suspect in his death. When the man standing in front of me was very much alive, I couldn't move. Every instinct I'd developed over 3 months of surviving in the Carminati world screamed at me to stay calm, stay composed, don't let him see fear. But Evander Carminati was supposed to be dead, and he was looking at me like I'd pulled the trigger myself. "You seem surprised," he said, stepping into the room. He moved with the same quiet control I remembered from the elevator, but there was something different now, something colder. My voice came out hoarse. I cleared my throat. "Everyone said you were dead. Everyone was wrong." He closed the door behind him. The click of the lock felt like a sentencing. "Or everyone lied. I'm still deciding which." My pulse hammered. "I don't understand." "Don't you?" He crossed to the desk, his gaze sweeping over the security logs I'd been reviewing. "You were the last person to see me before I disappeared. The last civilian. The only variable in my timeline that day that I didn't control. I was in an elevator with you for 5 minutes, that's all." 5 minutes and 7 seconds, he corrected softly. "I've watched the footage at least a dozen times. You were nervous. The elevator malfunctioned. You kept looking at me. Heat flooded my face. I didn't. And now you're living in my family's guest house, wearing black to charity events, playing the grieving widow to a man you claim you never knew." He leaned against the desk, arms crossed. "So tell me, Isolde, who paid you?" The accusation landed like a physical blow. "No one paid me," I said. "Your uncle showed up at my door after you disappeared and told me I had 2 choices, cooperate or die. I chose to live. Convenient. It's the truth." "The truth," he repeated, his tone flat. "The truth is that someone inside my organization knew exactly where I'd be that day. They knew my route, my timing, the security gaps." His eyes locked onto mine. "And the only person who can place me in that building at that exact time is you. I didn't know who you were. I didn't know anything." "Then you're either the unluckiest woman in New York or the best liar I've ever met." I straightened, forced myself to hold his gaze. "I was doing my job. I got into an elevator. It malfunctioned. You got out. 20 minutes later, your family told me you were dead. And then they told me I was going to help them pretend you weren't." My voice shook, but I didn't look away. "I didn't ask for any of this." Silence stretched between us. He studied me with the same intensity I remembered from the elevator, like he was cataloging every micro-expression, every tell I didn't know I was giving. "Where's your niece?" he asked. My stomach dropped. "At her internship. She has nothing to do with—" "I know. I've had her schedule since she—" "Arrived?" He said it so casually, like surveillance was a normal topic of conversation. "Columbia, right? Business analytics program. She's staying with you through August." "Don't," I said. And I didn't care that my voice broke. "Don't bring her into this. She's already in it. The moment you accepted Benedetto's deal, you made her a piece on the board." He pushed off the desk, closing the distance between us. "But here's what you need to understand, Isolde. I don't trust my uncle. I don't trust Cassian. I don't trust anyone who's been managing my estate for the past 3 months. And I sure don't trust you." Then why are you here? Because you're the only variable I can control. He stopped close enough that I could smell the same faint cologne from the elevator, but now it was mixed with something sharper. Adrenaline, maybe, or anger. You're going to stay exactly where you are. You're going to keep playing widow, and you're going to tell me everything you see, everything you hear, everyone who talks to you. You want me to spy on your own family? I want you to prove you're not working for whoever tried to kill me. And if I refuse, his smile didn't reach his eyes, then I'll assume you are, and I'll treat you accordingly. The threat hung in the air between us. I have a job, I said. A real job. At the Aurelius. I've been on leave for 3 months, but you don't anymore. He pulled out his phone, tapped something, then turned the screen toward me. It was an email from the Aurelius HR director. Regret to inform you that your position has been eliminated due to restructuring. The words blurred. I didn't do that, Evander said. That was Benedetto. Keeping you dependent, keeping you isolated. He pocketed the phone. But I'm not giving it back. You're more useful to me here. I wanted to scream, to throw something, to walk out and never look back. But Emma was at Columbia right now, completely unaware that her summer in New York had just become a cage. What do you want from me? I asked. Information, observation. You worked in hotel operations. You're good at seeing patterns, reading people, noticing what doesn't fit. He tilted his head. I've read your file. You flagged 3 separate security breaches at the Aurelius in 2 years. You rebuilt an entire guest tracking system after a data leak. You're not just competent, you're sharp. It should have felt like a compliment. It felt like being sized up for a weapon. I want you to use that, he continued. Benedetto's hosting a dinner tomorrow night. Family, allies, key business partners. You'll be there. Cassian will be there. I want you to watch. Listen. Tell me who's nervous. Who's performing? Who's lying? I don't know these people well enough to. You'll learn, he stepped back, giving me space to breathe again. And in the meantime, you'll keep acting like the devastated widow who's slowly letting Cassian Rochefort comfort her. My jaw tightened. I'm not. Yes, you are. His voice turned hard. Because if Benedetto thinks you're off script, he'll replace you, and I need you exactly where you are. Why? Because someone in my family tried to kill me, and they're still out there. His eyes burned into mine. And until I know who, everyone's a suspect, including you. The dinner was held in the main house the next evening, a sprawling stone mansion that looked like it had been airlifted from the Italian countryside and dropped into Westchester. I wore black, again, a silk sheath dress that Benedetto's stylist had picked out, paired with heels I could barely walk in, and diamond earrings that weren't mine. Emma had texted me earlier on my personal phone. Working late at the lab tonight. Don't wait up, love you. I'd stared at the message for 5 full minutes, relief and guilt twisting in my chest. At least she wasn't here for this. The secure phone the estate had issued me buzzed as I walked toward the main house. Another update from his security team. Subject attended evening class. No incidents. Escort maintained perimeter. I pocketed it and stepped inside. Cassian found me in the foyer before I even made it to the dining room. Isolde. He smiled, warm and practiced, and offered his arm. You look beautiful. Thank you, I said, because refusing would draw attention. He guided me through the hallway, his hand resting possessively at the small of my back. I know tonight will be intense. The family wants to see you and Evander together. They're curious about the dynamic. My stomach tightened. Curious? About how close you really were. Whether the widow story was just optics or something real. His voice dropped. Just be yourself. You'll be fine. The dining room opened before us, smaller than I'd expected. Intimate, even. A table set for 8. Benedetto sat at the head, already deep in conversation with a man in his 60s, who had the same sharp eyes and careful posture. An older woman sat to Benedetto's left. Silver hair, expensive jewelry, watching everything with the quiet attention of someone who missed nothing. And at the opposite end of the table, Evander. He looked up as we entered, his gaze locking onto Cassian's hand at my back. Something flickered across his face. Gone in an instant. Ah, there she is, Benedetto said, gesturing to an empty seat near the middle of the table. directly across from Evander. Isolde, you know Cassian, of course. This is my brother-in-law, Antonio Carminati, and his wife, Gianna. And I believe you've already been reacquainted with my nephew. The emphasis on the last word was deliberate. Evander's eyes met mine, said nothing. Gianna smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. We've heard so much about you, my dear. 3 months is a long time to carry such a burden. It was, I said carefully. And now Evander has returned. She glanced at him, then back at me. You must have been shocked. I was. But relieved, surely. Antonio leaned forward slightly. To discover the man you mourned was alive after all. It was a test. Every word was a test. Of course, I said. Relief and confusion and... I looked at Evander. Gratitude that he's safe. Cassian pulled out my chair. I sat, acutely aware that I was positioned directly in Evander's line of sight. 2 younger men entered, cousins, based on the family resemblance. They nodded politely but said nothing, taking seats near Antonio. The first course arrived. Conversation flowed carefully, family updates, business mentions, nothing too direct. But I could feel the weight of observation. So tell me, Isolde, Gianna said as the second course was served. In that elevator, before everything happened, did you and Evander speak much? I glanced at Evander. He was watching me, expression unreadable. Barely, I said. The elevator malfunctioned. He mentioned it would be fixed in 5 minutes. That was all. And yet, Antonio said, Benedetto felt you were the right choice to play widow. That suggests a connection of some kind. I was the last person seen with him on camera, I said evenly. That's not connection, that's circumstance. But you agreed to the role, Gianna pressed. Most women would have refused, run, disappeared. Most women don't have family who could become collateral damage. I met her eyes. I agreed because the alternative was worse. Benedetto cleared his throat. Isolde has been remarkably cooperative. Gracious even, under difficult circumstances. Cooperative, Evander said quietly. It was the first time he'd spoken since I sat down. Is that what we're calling it? Every eye turned to him. Nephew, Benedetto's tone carried a warning. I'm just curious, Evander continued, his gaze still on me, whether Miss Merrick was ever given a real choice, or whether cooperative is just a polite word for coerced. The temperature in the room dropped. Evander, Antonio said carefully, we all did what was necessary to protect the family during your absence. By forcing a civilian into a role she never asked for. By making her lie to her family. By putting her niece in danger. Evander's voice stayed calm, but there was steel underneath. I'm just trying to understand the decisions that were made in my name. Cassian shifted beside me. We protected her, gave her security, resources. You gave her a cage. Evander's eyes finally left me, turning to Cassian. Don't dress it up as generosity. Then what would you have done differently? Benedetto asked, his tone sharp now. I would have offered her a way out, or a real choice to stay. The words hung in the air. Let her go, Gianna repeated. And risk her talking? Risk exposure? She didn't know anything, Evander said flatly. She was in an elevator, that's all. The rest, the widow story, the public appearances, the protection detail. That was your construction, not hers. And yet, Benedetto said, leaning back in his chair, she's still here, still playing the part, which suggests she's either more complicit than you think, or more comfortable in this world than she admits. I felt the trap closing. I'm here, I said quietly, because I made a deal, and I keep my word. Even now, Gianna asked, even with Evander back? You could walk away. No one would stop you. I looked at Evander. He was watching me like the answer mattered more than anything else in the room. I don't know, I admitted. I haven't decided yet. It was the truth. And somehow, that answer satisfied them more than any lie would have. Antonio nodded slowly. Honest. I appreciate that. As do I, Benedetto said. Though I hope you'll consider staying. You've been an asset to this family. Cassian's hand found mine under the table. We'd all like you to stay. I didn't pull away, but across the table, I watched Evander's jaw tighten. The dinner stretched for 90 minutes. By the time dessert was cleared, My face hurt from maintaining composure. Benedetto stood, raising his glass. To family, to loyalty, and to Evander's safe return. Everyone drank. I set my glass down and felt the secure phone buzz in my clutch. I waited until people started standing, conversations breaking into smaller clusters, before I checked it. Terrace, now. I glanced up. Evander was already gone. The terrace overlooked the estate's gardens, manicured hedges and stone fountains lit by subtle landscape lighting. The air was cool, almost cold, and I wrapped my arms around myself as I stepped outside. Evander stood at the far railing, his back to me. "You wanted to see me," I said. "Tell me what you noticed." I hesitated. Antonio kept watching you like he was trying to solve a puzzle. Gianna was probing for weak spots. And Cassian's touches were timed, never private, always where people could see. Evander turned. "What else?" Benedetto toasted to new beginnings, but he was looking at you when he said it, like he was testing your reaction. Good, he stepped closer. "What about Cassian? He's performing. Everything he does is calculated, where he sits, when he touches me, how he speaks. It's all for an audience. And you let him." "It wasn't a question." "You told me to," I said. "I told you to watch. I didn't tell you to let him put his hands on you like he owns you." The sudden edge in his voice caught me off guard. "It was his hand on my back. At a public dinner. It means exactly what he wants it to mean." Evander closed the distance between us, and suddenly the terrace felt too small. Cassian is Benedetto's play for legitimacy, the polished public face, the man who helps the widow move on. His voice dropped. "And if you let him claim you publicly, you make Benedetto's coup real. I thought that's what you wanted, for me to stay in role. I want you to stay useful, not complicit." "Then tell me what you actually want from me," I snapped. "Because I'm not a mind reader, and I'm not playing some game where the rules change every 5 minutes. He stared at me. Then, slowly, something shifted in his expression. "There," he said quietly. "That's what I want. The woman who negotiated terms with Benedetto. The one who didn't crumble when I accused her of conspiracy. Not the performer." My heart was pounding. He pulled a phone from his jacket. Sleek, new, expensive. "Take this. Untraceable. My number's already in it. If anything happens, you call me immediately." I took it. Our fingers brushed. The contact lasted half a second, but I felt it everywhere. "Anything else?" I asked. "Yes. Tomorrow you're going to—" His phone buzzed. Once, twice, 3 times in rapid succession. His expression changed instantly. "What is it?" I asked. He was already moving, pulling me back toward the house. "We need to go. Now." "What's happening?" "Someone just tried to grab your niece outside her dorm." The world tilted. Emma was sitting in Evander's study when we arrived, wrapped in an oversized Columbia hoodie, her face pale but composed. A man I didn't recognize stood near the door, security clearly. "Isolda." She stood up the moment she saw me, and I crossed the room in 3 steps, pulling her into my arms. "Are you okay? Did they hurt you?" I'm fine. But her hands were shaking. 2 guys in a black SUV pulled up when I was walking back from the library. They said they wanted to talk to me about you, about the family. One of them grabbed my arm, but campus security saw and started running over, so they just left. I held her tighter. "Did you call the police?" I asked. "I called the number Benedetto's people gave me when I first got here, for emergencies." Emma pulled back, looking between me and Evander. "They sent a car, brought me here. I tried calling you, but I'm here now." I smoothed her hair back. "You're safe." "Who were they?" she whispered. I didn't have an answer. Evander did. "Volkov crew," he said, his voice flat and cold. "Low level, fishing for leverage." "The Russian family?" I asked. "They've been testing the perimeter for weeks, seeing what cracks appeared after my death." His gaze locked onto mine. "Now they know you have pressure points." Emma's eyes widened. "Isolda, what is he talking about?" "It's complicated," I said. "No, it's simple," Evander cut in. "You're leverage against your aunt. And your aunt is leverage in a power struggle she didn't ask to be part of." He looked at Emma directly. "Which means you're staying here tonight. under actual security, not campus rent-a-cops. I have class tomorrow. Cancel it. Evander, I started. This isn't negotiable. He pulled out his phone, typed something quickly. As of 10 minutes ago, 3 of the men who approached her no longer have bank accounts or a safe place to sleep in this city. His tone was utterly calm. By tomorrow morning, they won't have kneecaps either. Emma made a small sound. I felt something crack open in my chest. Terror and relief and something darker I didn't want to name. He'd retaliated. Instantly. Devastatingly. For her. For me. The 4th one, Evander continued, still typing, is currently being questioned by people much scarier than me. If Volkov sent them, we'll know by morning. If someone else did, he looked up. We'll know that too. You can't just... I stopped. Because he could. And he had. What about the police? The police will find 4 men who violated parole, overstayed visas, and assaulted a college student on camera. They'll be processed, charged, and deported or locked up. He pocketed his phone. No one will connect it to us. Emma was staring at him like she'd never seen anything like him before. She hadn't. Thank you, I said quietly. His eyes met mine. Don't thank me. This is my fault. I brought you into this world. I made you visible. His jaw tightened. And now everyone knows you matter. The last 3 words hung in the air like a confession. I stayed with Emma in one of the guest suites until she finally fell asleep around 2 a.m., exhausted and still wearing her hoodie. When I slipped out into the hallway, Evander was waiting. She'll be fine, he said. I have 2 guards on this wing. No one gets past them. She shouldn't be here at all. No. She should be at Columbia, living a normal life. But that option ended the moment Volkov decided to test me. He gestured down the hall. Come with me. Somewhere we can talk without waking her. I followed him through the mansion's quiet corridors, down a set of stairs I hadn't seen before, and into a room that looked like it had been built for exactly one purpose: survival. Reinforced walls, no windows, a heavy door that locked from the inside, monitors showing camera feeds from around the estate, a small kitchenette, a couch, a desk. This is a safe room, I said, scanning the reinforced walls and the monitors. Evander's mouth tightened. Yes. You stayed here, I said quietly. For 6 weeks, he confirmed. Then I moved to a secondary location when I realized the leak had to be internal. He crossed to the desk, poured 2 glasses of whiskey from a decanter, and handed me one. I took the glass but didn't drink. Why are we here? Because after what happened tonight, Benedetto's going to tighten security, which means more eyes on you, more restrictions on Emma, and I need you to understand what's actually happening before he spins it. He leaned against the desk. This wasn't random. Volkov doesn't move without calculating risk. Someone told them you were vulnerable. Someone in your family. Yes. The word landed like a sentencing. Benedetto, I asked. Possibly. Or someone working with him. Or someone else entirely. He took a drink. That's what I'm trying to figure out. And you just became the bait. Then get Emma out of here. Send her home, please. If I do that, whoever's feeding information to Volkov will know I'm protecting you, which confirms you matter, which makes you a bigger target. His voice softened slightly. She's safer here, under my control, than she is on a plane where I can't see her. I hated that he was right. I set the glass down, pressed my palms against my eyes. I can't do this. I can't put her in danger because you what? Because I got in an elevator. The words came out sharper than I meant them. That's all I did. I went to work. I did my job. And now my niece almost got kidnapped because some mafia power struggle needs a widow for optics. Silence filled the room. Then Evander moved. He crossed to where I stood, close enough that I had to tilt my head back to meet his eyes. You want the truth? He said quietly. Yes. The ambush wasn't random. Someone knew I'd be at that hotel, knew the route I'd take through the building, knew the exact window when my security would be split. He paused. The elevator malfunction bought them time. 5 extra minutes when I was isolated, visible, trackable. My breath caught. You think it was deliberate? I know it was. Maintenance logs show an override code entered remotely 90 seconds before we got in. His gaze didn't waver. Someone trapped us in that elevator on purpose. But I know you didn't. His voice was rough now, almost raw. I've spent 3 months hunting the person who tried to kill me, and the only thing I'm certain of is that it wasn't you. Then why did you come back and accuse me? Because I needed to see your face when I said it. I needed to know. He reached up, and for a moment I thought he was going to touch me, but his hand stopped just short of my cheek, hovering in the space between us. And the moment I saw you, I knew. Knew what? That you were telling the truth. That you didn't know who I was. That you were just... He exhaled. Collateral damage. The admission cost him something. I could see it in the tension in his shoulders, the tightness around his eyes. Why did you stay dead for 3 months? I asked. Because the person who set the ambush is someone I trusted. Someone close enough to know my schedule, my routes, my security protocols. His hand finally dropped. And I needed them to think they'd won. I needed them to feel safe enough to make mistakes. And did they? Yes, but not the ones I expected. He stepped back, giving me space again. Benedetto consolidated power faster than I anticipated. Cassian appeared out of nowhere with convenient timing. Lucia started moving European assets without authorization. And you... He stopped. Me? You negotiated. You set boundaries. You protected your family. Something that might have been admiration flickered across his face. You didn't just survive, Isolde. You strategized. I didn't know what to say to that. I need to ask you something, Evander said. And I need you to answer honestly. Okay. Are you afraid of me? The question caught me off guard. I should have said yes. I should have been terrified. But standing in this safe room, watching the way he looked at me like I was a puzzle he couldn't solve? No, I said. You should be. I know. His jaw tightened. Everyone else is. I'm not everyone else. The words hung between us, and suddenly the air felt different. Charged. He moved closer again, and this time I didn't step back. What are you doing? I whispered. Something I should have done the moment I walked back into your life. What? Believing you? And then his hand was on my face. Rough palm against my cheek, thumb brushing my jawline, and I forgot how to breathe. I'm going to keep you safe, he said, his voice low and absolute. You and Emma. I don't care what it costs. I don't care who I have to destroy. No one touches you again. It wasn't a promise. It was a vow. And help me, I believed him. Evander. Say it. Say what? That you trust me. I should have hesitated. Should have demanded proof, guarantees, something more than this moment in a locked room with a man who'd spent 3 months suspecting me of conspiracy. But I looked into his eyes and saw something I recognized. The same fear I'd been carrying since Benedetto showed up at my door. The fear of being betrayed by the people who were supposed to protect you. I trust you, I said. His thumb traced my cheekbone. Why? Because you came back for me. When you could have stayed hidden, stayed safe, you came back and put yourself in danger to find the truth. I held his gaze. That's not what guilty people do. For a long moment, neither of us moved. Then my phone buzzed. We both froze. I pulled it out, saw my sister's name on the screen. 3 missed calls, 4 texts. Isolde, call me. It's important. Mom's in the hospital. Minor stroke. She's stable, but they're running tests. Please call. The blood drained from my face. What is it? Evander asked. My mother, I couldn't finish the sentence. I have to go. I have to call my sister back. I have to. Where is she? Cleveland Clinic. I'll have a plane ready before 4 a.m. I stared at him. What? You need to be there, so you'll be there. He was already pulling out his phone. Pack a bag. I'll arrange security and transportation. I can't just leave Emma. Emma stays here under protection until you get back. 2 days, 3 days, however long you need. His tone left no room for argument. But you're not traveling alone, and you're not flying commercial where I can't control the variables. Evander, I can't ask you to. You didn't ask. I'm telling you. He met my eyes. This is what I meant. No one touches you. No one hurts your family. Not on my watch. Something in my chest cracked wide open. I have to tell Emma. I'll tell her. You call your sister. Let her know you're coming. He guided me toward the door. And Isolde? I turned back. Your mother's going to be fine, he said quietly. But you need to go anyway, because missing this, choosing to stay here instead of being with your family, that's the kind of cost that changes you. And I won't let this world take that from you too. The words hit me harder than any threat ever could. Because he understood. He understood what I was losing, what I'd already lost, what I stood to lose if I stayed trapped in this role. And he was giving me a way out, even if it was only temporary. Thank you, I whispered. Then I ran. The flight to Cleveland was smooth, silent, and surreal. Evander's plane, because of course he had a plane, was small, sleek, and staffed by people who spoke in clipped professional tones and never once asked who I was or why I was flying at 4 a.m. with two silent men in the cabin who never introduced themselves. I spent the entire 90 minutes staring out the window, my phone clutched in my hand. My sister had texted twice more. Mom's asking for you. Doctors say she'll make a full recovery but want to monitor her for 48 hours. I'd responded. On my way, landing at 6 a.m. I hadn't explained how I was getting there. I hadn't explained anything in 3 months. A car met me at the private terminal, black SUV, tinted windows, a driver who nodded once and opened the door without a word. 20 minutes later, I was walking through the sterile, fluorescent halls of Cleveland Clinic, still wearing the black dress from last night's dinner. My sister was in the waiting room outside the ICU. She stood the moment she saw me, her face a mixture of relief and exhaustion. Isolde, she pulled me into a hug. Thank goodness. I didn't think you'd get here so fast. How is she? Stable. They caught it early. She's awake, talking, complaining about the hospital food. My sister pulled back, managed a weak smile. You know, Mom. I did. Can I see her? In a few minutes. They're running another scan. She gestured to the chairs. Sit. You look exhausted. I sat. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then, Isolde, what's going on? I looked at her. What do you mean? You've been avoiding my calls for weeks. You canceled Emma's trip, then uncanceled it without explanation. You're living in New York, but you won't tell me where. And now you show up at 6 a.m. like you teleported here. She leaned forward. Talk to me. I couldn't. The NDAs Benedetto's lawyers had made me sign weren't just paperwork. They were insurance. One word to the wrong person, and the protections I'd negotiated vanished. Work has been complicated, I said carefully. You got fired. My stomach dropped. How did you? Emma mentioned it. She said you told her the hotel restructured your position. My sister's eyes narrowed. But the Aurelius website still lists you as their operations coordinator. So either they haven't updated it, or you lied to her. I closed my eyes. Isolde. I can't explain it right now, I said. I will, I promise. But right now, I need to see Mom. I need to make sure she's okay. Can we do this later? My sister studied me for a long moment. Then she nodded. Okay, later. But I could see the worry in her eyes. The same worry I'd been carrying for 3 months. My mother looked smaller in the hospital bed than I remembered. Pale, fragile, hooked up to monitors that beeped softly in the quiet room. But when she saw me, she smiled. There's my girl. I crossed to her bedside, took her hand carefully. Hey, Mom, you scared us. Didn't mean to. Her voice was softer than usual, slightly slurred on one side. Doctors say I'll be fine. Just need to take it easy for a while. You're going to take it easy for a long while, I said firmly. She squeezed my hand. Look at you, all dressed up. You didn't have to come all the way from New York. Of course I did. How's the job? Your sister said the hotel. It's fine, Mom. Don't worry about that right now. She frowned slightly. You look tired, honey. Are they working you too hard? I forced a smile. I'm fine. Just been busy. And Emma, she's settling in okay. She loves it. The program's perfect for her. Good, that's good. My mother's eyes drifted closed for a moment, then opened again. I'm glad you're there with her. I worry less knowing you two have each other. The guilt was a physical weight in my chest. Emma wasn't with me. Emma was locked in a mansion in Westchester under armed guard, because I dragged her into a world where 18-year-old girls got grabbed outside their dorms. Get some rest, Mom, I said quietly. I'll be here when you wake up. She nodded, already drifting. I sat beside her bed and watched her breathe, and tried not to think about what I'd become. I spent 2 days in Cleveland. 2 days of hospital rooms and hushed conversations with doctors. 2 days of my sister asking questions I couldn't answer. 2 days of pretending everything was fine, while my secure phone Evander had given me buzzed constantly with updates from Evander's security team. Emma went to class like nothing had changed. She thought the driver and the assistant were just Benedetto being overprotective. No incidents. Volkov crew member confirmed the approach was unauthorized. Rival faction testing boundaries. Benedetto has requested your presence at a board meeting Thursday. Cassian will escort you. That last one made my jaw clench. On the third morning, my mother was cleared to go home with my sister and brother-in-law. I helped get her settled, made sure the prescriptions were filled, and hugged them all goodbye with promises to visit again soon. Lies. I didn't know when I'd see them again. Didn't know if soon was even possible in the world I was trapped in now. The car was waiting outside. Same driver. Same silence. I climbed in and pulled out the phone Evander had given me. 3 missed calls from him. 1 text. We need to talk. Call me when you're in the air. I dialed. He picked up on the first ring. How's your mother? He asked. Better. She's home now. Full recovery. Expected. Good. A pause. And you? Fine. Liar. I almost smiled despite everything. I'm tired, and I don't want to go back. I know, but I have to. Yes. The honesty was almost worse than false comfort would have been. What did you need to talk about? I asked. Benedetto's accelerating. The board meeting Thursday isn't just a meeting, it's a power play. He's going to formalize his position as acting head of the family, and he's going to use you and Cassian as proof of stability and continuity. My stomach turned. Meaning what? Meaning he's going to announce a formal courtship, possibly an engagement timeline. No. Isolde. I said no. That wasn't part of the deal. I agreed to play widow, not to marry some stranger for optics. I'm not asking you to marry him. Evander's voice was hard. I'm telling you what Benedetto's planning so you're not blindsided. But you need to play along long enough for me to make my move. What move? I'm not staying dead much longer. I've been gathering evidence, building a case against whoever orchestrated the ambush. But I need more time. Another week, maybe 2. And in the meantime, I'm supposed to let Cassian. You're supposed to do exactly what you've been doing. Watch, listen, report back to me. His tone softened slightly. And trust that I won't let it get that far. I leaned my head back against the seat. This is insane. Yes, I hate this. I know. Evander, I'm going to end this, Isolde. I promise you, but I need you to hold on a little longer. I closed my eyes. What if I can't? You can. You're the woman who negotiated terms at gunpoint and didn't blink. You can survive 2 more weeks of bad dinner parties and a man who thinks he's charming. Despite everything, I felt my lips twitch. He really does think he's charming, doesn't he? Unbearably so. This time I did smile. Just a little. I'll see you when you land, Evander said. And Isolde? Yeah? Thank you. For what? For coming back. The line went dead before I could answer. The board meeting was exactly as awful as I'd anticipated. 20 people around a mahogany table in a midtown office that pretended to be a legitimate wealth management firm. Benedetto at the head, Cassian at his right hand, and me, positioned carefully between them like a bridge. Evander wasn't there. Officially, he was still dead. But I felt him everywhere, in the way Benedetto's eyes kept darting to the door, in the tension that rippled through the room every time someone's phone buzzed. Gentlemen, Benedetto began, his voice smooth and controlled. And lady, we're here to formalize the transition we've been managing for the past 3 months. Evander's loss was devastating, but it also presented an opportunity to restructure, to modernize, to position ourselves for long-term stability. I kept my face neutral. To that end, Benedetto continued, I'm proposing that we make my interim leadership permanent, with a clear succession plan that ensures continuity should anything happen to me. He glanced at Cassian. And to further demonstrate stability, I'm pleased to announce that Cassian Rochefort will be taking a more active role in our public-facing operations, including a formal partnership with Isolde Merrick. The room went silent. I felt every eye turn toward me. Partnership? I asked carefully. Cassian smiled. Benedetto and I have discussed it at length. Given your position as Evander's widow and my role in managing the family's legitimate business interests, it makes sense for us to present a united front, publicly and personally. You want to announce an engagement, I said flatly. Not immediately, Benedetto interjected, but a courtship. A gradual transition that shows the world we're moving forward with dignity and respect for Evander's memory. I wanted to flip the table. Instead, I folded my hands in my lap. And if I'm not ready for that, the temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Isolde, Cassian said gently, I understand this is difficult, but you have to think practically. Your position here is contingent on your cooperation. And cooperation means what? I interrupted. Means I smile and nod while you remake my entire life to suit your power structure. Benedetto leaned forward. It means you remember the deal you made, protection for compliance. And compliance includes maintaining the image we've carefully constructed. The image of a grieving widow who's ready to move on after 3 months. The image of a woman who understands how this world works. I held his gaze. I understand perfectly. You need me to legitimize your coup. You need Cassian to look like the respectful successor instead of the opportunist. And you need me to play along so no one asks inconvenient questions about why Evander died and you profited. The silence was deafening. Then Benedetto smiled. I'm glad we understand each other. Oh, I understand, I stood. But I'm not agreeing to anything today. You want a courtship announcement? You want me to play the next chapter of this performance? Then I need time to think about it. You don't have time. Then you don't have my cooperation. I met his eyes. I negotiated terms once. I can do it again. Or you can try replacing me and see how that plays with your stability narrative. For a long moment, no one moved. Then Benedetto nodded slowly. 1 week. You have 1 week to adjust to the idea. After that, we move forward with or without your blessing. Understood. I turned and walked out before anyone could stop me. I made it halfway across the lobby before Cassian caught up with me. Isolde, wait. I didn't stop. Please. I turned. What? He looked almost genuinely hurt. I'm not your enemy. I know Benedetto can be intense, but I'm trying to make this easier for you. By proposing a fake courtship? By offering you a real partnership? He stepped closer. I know you didn't ask for any of this, but you're here now, and I can help you navigate it if you let me. I don't need help. Everyone needs help, Isolde. His hand reached for mine. Let me be on your side. I pulled away. I'm not picking sides. I'm surviving. Then survive with me, his voice dropped. Because Benedetto's patience has limits. And when he runs out, you won't have options anymore. It sounded like concern. It felt like a threat. I'll keep that in mind, I said coldly. Then I walked out into the afternoon sunlight and called Evander. He threatened you, Evander said 30 minutes later. We were in his car, different from the one that had picked me up at the airport. More secure, windows tinted so dark I could barely see the city passing by. Not directly, I said. But yes. What did he say exactly? I repeated the conversation word for word. Evander's jaw tightened. He's escalating. Benedetto gave him the green light to apply pressure. So what do I do? You do exactly what you did. Push back. Make them think you're considering it. Buy me time. He glanced at me. How much did your mother's stroke cost you? The question threw me. What? Emotionally. What did it cost you to leave Emma here and fly to Cleveland? To lie to your sister? To sit in that hospital and pretend everything was fine? I looked away. Why does that matter? Because that's the kind of cost that adds up, and I need to know if you're at your limit. I'm not. Isolde. I'm not, I said more firmly. I'm angry, I'm exhausted, but I'm not done. He studied me for a long moment. Good. Because I'm about to ask you to do something harder. My stomach sank. What? I need you to get close to Cassian. Absolutely not. Not romantically, strategically. Evander's tone was all business now. He's Benedetto's weak point. Too polished, too eager, too clean. He doesn't belong in this world, which means someone brought him in. Someone is using him. And you want me to figure out who? I want you to make him trust you. Make him think you're actually considering the courtship. Get him talking. Evander's eyes locked onto mine. And find out what he's really after. He'll see through it. No, he won't. Because you're going to tell him the truth. I stared at him. What truth? That you're terrified, that you don't know who to trust, that Benedetto scares you and you're looking for an ally. His voice softened. Make yourself vulnerable. Let him think he's winning you over. And then? Then you report everything back to me, every conversation, every slip, every inconsistency. He leaned closer. Cassian talks too much when he thinks he's impressing someone. And right now, he's very interested in impressing you. I hated that it made sense. Hated more that I was actually considering it. What if he touches me again? I asked quietly. Something dark flashed across Evander's face. Then you tolerate it long enough to get what we need. And I'll make sure he regrets it. Later. You can't. I can. And I will. His hand reached across the seat, fingers brushing mine. But only as much as you can stand. The moment it's too much, you pull back and we find another way. The contact sent electricity up my arm. I should have pulled away. I didn't. 1 more week, Evander said. That's all I'm asking. 1 week of playing Cassian's game while I finish building my case. And then I come back from the dead, and this ends. And if your case isn't ready in a week, then I come back anyway. His fingers tightened on mine. Because I'm not leaving you in this alone any longer than I have to. The words hit me harder than they should have. Okay, I whispered. Okay? 1 week, I'll do it. He nodded. Started to pull his hand away. I held on. Evander? Yes? When this is over, when you've exposed whoever tried to kill you and Benedetto's neutralized, and I'm not playing widow anymore. I took a breath. What happens to me? The question hung between us. Whatever you want, he said finally. New identity, relocation, money, freedom. I'll give you everything I promised and more. And if I don't want to disappear? His eyes searched mine. What do you want? I didn't have an answer. Or maybe I did, and I was too afraid to say it out loud. I don't know yet, I said, but I'm starting to think running might not be enough. Something shifted in his expression. Then we'll figure it out, he said quietly. Together. The word wrapped around me like a promise. I started having coffee with Cassian the next day. Nothing dramatic. Just casual meetings in neutral spaces, hotel lobbies, quiet cafes, the estate's garden when the weather was nice. He talked. I listened. And slowly, carefully, I started to notice the cracks. Benedetto's been good to me, Cassian said during our 3rd coffee. Gave me opportunities I wouldn't have had otherwise. But sometimes I think he forgets I'm not like the rest of you. What do you mean? I asked. I didn't grow up in this world. My family's legitimate. Old money, but clean. He stirred his espresso absently. When Benedetto approached me about helping modernize the family's public image, I thought it was just consulting work, PR strategy, reputation management. But it's more than that now. Much more, he looked at me. And I'm starting to wonder if I made a mistake. I leaned forward slightly. Why? Because the more I see, the more I realize this isn't just about image. It's about control, power, and I'm not sure I want to be part of that. It sounded genuine, too genuine. Then why stay, I asked. Because leaving isn't an option. He said it so simply, so matter-of-factly. I know too much now. I've seen too much. And men like Benedetto don't let people walk away. You sound afraid of him. I am? Cassian met my eyes. Aren't you? Yes, I admitted. It was the truth. And it made him trust me just a little more. On the 5th day, Cassian invited me to dinner. Not at the estate. Somewhere private. Just the 2 of us, he said. No Benedetto, no security, just a chance to talk without performing. Every instinct screamed trap. But Evander had texted me that morning. He's close to breaking. Push harder. So I said yes. The restaurant was in Tribeca, expensive, intimate, the kind of place where powerful people met to discuss things they didn't want overheard. Cassian was already there when I arrived, seated at a corner table. He stood when he saw me, pulled out my chair, ordered wine I didn't ask for. "Thank you for coming," he said. "I know this is complicated." "Everything is complicated." He smiled. "True." He poured the wine, slid a glass toward me. "I want to be honest with you, Isolde. I think we've both been playing roles for too long." "Okay. I'm not interested in a real courtship, or an engagement, or any of the things Benedetto's pushing for." He leaned forward. "I'm interested in survival, and I think you are too." My pulse quickened. "Go on." "Benedetto's planning something bigger than just consolidating power. He's been moving assets, restructuring accounts, making deals with people he shouldn't be dealing with." Cassian's voice dropped. "And I think he's setting both of us up to take the fall when it blows up." "What kind of deals?" "I don't know yet, but I've seen ledgers that don't match, transfers that go to shell companies I can't trace, and meetings with people from organizations that should be rivals, not partners. I process that." "You think he's betraying the family?" "I think he's building an exit strategy, and when he leaves, he's going to burn everything behind him, including us." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I need an ally, and I think you do too." He reached across the table, his hand covering mine. "We could help each other, Isolde, pool our information, figure out what Benedetto's really planning, and get out before it's too late." It was a good pitch, almost believable, except, "If you're so worried about Benedetto," I said carefully, "why haven't you gone to Evander's family, to Lucia or the others who might actually have power to stop him?" Cassian's expression flickered, just for a second. "Because I don't know who to trust," he said. "Benedetto has allies everywhere, and if I go to the wrong person, you end up dead." "Exactly." I pulled my hand back slowly. "So you came to me, the widow with no power, no connections, no leverage." "You have more leverage than you think." His eyes held mine. "Evander trusted you. He spent time with you before he died. And people remember that. If you spoke up, if you raised questions about Benedetto's leadership, people would listen." There it was, the real ask. "You want me to be your voice," I said. "I want us to be each other's voice." I sat back, let the silence stretch. Then, "I need to think about it." Disappointment flashed across his face. "Isolde, you're asking me to go against the man who controls my entire life right now. That's not a decision I make over wine in Tribeca." I stood. "Give me a few days. Let me consider what you've said." "We don't have a few days. Benedetto's timeline is accelerating." "Then he'll have to wait." I met his eyes. "Because I'm not making another deal at gunpoint, not even with you." I walked out before he could argue, and texted Evander the moment I hit the street. "We need to talk. Now." I met Evander in the same safe room where we'd had our first real conversation. He was pacing when I arrived, phone in hand, jaw tight. "What did Cassian say?" he asked before I'd even closed the door. I repeated the entire conversation word for word. The ledgers, the shell companies, the suspicious meetings, the pitch for alliance. Evander listened without interrupting. When I finished, he was silent for a long moment. Then, "He's lying." "I know." His eyes snapped to mine. "You knew?" He slipped. When I asked why he hadn't gone to Lucia or the other family members, he hesitated. Just for a second. Like he hadn't prepared an answer for that question. I crossed my arms. And the whole pitch felt rehearsed, like he'd practiced it. Something that looked like pride flickered across Evander's face. "What else?" "He wants me to be his voice, to raise questions about Benedetto's leadership publicly, which means either he's actually planning to move against Benedetto and needs a puppet, or Benedetto sent him to test your loyalty." "Exactly." I leaned against the desk. "So which is it?" "Both." Evander pulled up something on his phone, then turned the screen toward me. It was a bank transfer record, a series of them. "Cassian's been receiving payments from 3 different shell companies for the past 8 months, Evander said. 2 of them trace back to Benedetto. The third traces to the Volkov family." My stomach dropped. He's working with the Russians? Not working with them, being paid by them. Evander swiped to another screen. The timeline matches. Payments started 2 weeks before my death, increased after. And the most recent one came through the day after Emma was grabbed. The pieces clicked into place. He fed them the information, I said slowly. About Emma, about me. He told them when to move. Yes. And I think Benedetto knows, or at least suspects. That's why he's pushing the courtship so hard. If Cassian's publicly tied to you, it looks like loyalty, like integration, not infiltration. But if Benedetto suspects, why not just, I stopped. Because men like Benedetto didn't act without proof, without leverage, without a plan that protected them completely. He's building a case, I said, just like you are. Exactly, and we're both using you as bait to catch the same fish. Evander pocketed his phone. The question is, who moves first? What happens if Benedetto moves first? He'll use Cassian's betrayal to consolidate power, prove he's the only one capable of protecting the family from infiltration, and he'll sacrifice you in the process. Say you were part of it, or that you were too naive to see it, or that you're a liability he can't afford anymore. And if you move first, I expose both of them. Benedetto's coup, Cassian's deal with Volkov. The whole structure collapses, and I rebuild it my way. Which means chaos. Yes. I pushed off the desk, started pacing. There has to be another option, something that doesn't end with me dead or disappeared. There is. Evander caught my arm as I passed, stopping me. You help me finish this. Tonight. My pulse jumped. What are you talking about? I have everything I need except one thing. Proof that Cassian's payments are connected to the ambush. That he knew where I'd be that day. That he's the one who triggered the elevator override. His hand was warm on my arm, grounding. And I think he'll tell you if you ask the right way. You want me to meet with him again. I want you to set a trap. Tell him you've decided to trust him. That you're ready to move against Benedetto. Get him talking about specifics, timelines, plans, how he thinks Benedetto structured the original ambush. Evander's eyes burned into mine. Men like Cassian love to prove they're the smartest person in the room. Give him an audience and he'll perform. And if he doesn't take the bait, then we move with what we have. But it won't be clean, and it won't protect you the way I need it to. I understood what he wasn't saying. If Cassian didn't confess, I'd still be a question mark in everyone's mind. Still a potential conspirator. Still dangerous. How would I even set this up, I asked. Text him. Tell him you've thought about what he said. That you're scared and you need to know the full truth before you commit to anything. Evander's thumb brushed the inside of my wrist, probably unconsciously. Ask to meet somewhere private, somewhere he feels safe. And you'll be listening. I'll be recording. And if he gives us what we need, I'll have him in custody before he leaves the room. It was a good plan. It was also terrifying. What if he realizes it's a setup, I asked. He won't. You're too good at this. Evander's voice softened. You've been playing a role you never asked for, in a world that should have destroyed you, and you're still standing, still thinking, still fighting. His hand slid from my wrist to my hand, fingers threading through mine. Cassian has no idea what he's up against. The words settled in my chest like a vow. Okay, I whispered. I'll do it. I texted Cassian from the car on the way back to the guest house. You were right. I can't keep pretending everything is fine. Can we talk? Somewhere private. Just us. He responded in under a minute. Of course. When? Tomorrow night. 8 p.m. There's a hotel in Midtown I used to work near, the Gramercy. We can meet in the bar. Quiet. No one from the family goes there. Perfect. I'll see you then. I showed Evander the exchange. He nodded. The Gramercy works. Public enough that he won't suspect a setup. Private enough that he'll talk freely. He was already typing on his phone. I'll have the room wired by tomorrow afternoon. Audio and video. And I'll be in the adjacent suite. What do I ask him? Start vulnerable. Tell him you're terrified of Benedetto. That you don't know what he's planning, but you can feel the walls closing in. Evander's eyes met mine. Then pivot. Ask him how he knew to approach you. How he knew you'd be receptive to an alliance. Make him think you're impressed by his intelligence. And if he brags, let him. The more he talks, the more he'll slip. Evander hesitated. And Isolde, if at any point you feel unsafe, you say the word Emma. That's the signal. I'll be through the door in under 10 seconds. The fact that he'd thought of that made something in my chest tighten. Okay, get some sleep, he said. Tomorrow's going to be a long day. But as I turned to leave, his hand caught mine. Isolde, I looked back. After tomorrow night, after this is over, we need to talk. About what comes next, about what you want. His voice was rough, uncertain, in a way I'd never heard before. Because I'm not letting you walk away without knowing all your options. What options? The real ones. Not the ones Benedetto gave you. Not the ones I forced you into. His thumb brushed across my knuckles. The ones where you choose? Freely. I didn't know what to say to that. So I just nodded and left before I could do something stupid, like ask him what he wanted. The next day crawled by. I had coffee with Emma in the guest house that morning. Watched her scroll through her phone, laughing at something one of her classmates sent, completely unaware that in 12 hours I'd be sitting across from the man who'd tried to have her kidnapped. You okay? She asked, looking up. You seem distracted. Just tired, I said. Work stuff. You keep saying that. She set her phone down. Isolde, what do you actually do here? For Benedetto's family? My throat tightened. It's complicated. Is it dangerous? Yes. No, I lied. It's just administrative. Boring, mostly. She didn't look convinced. The security guards don't feel boring. They're just being cautious. After what happened outside your dorm? I know, but it's been over a week and they're still everywhere. Emma leaned forward. Are you in trouble? No. Are we safe? I wanted to tell her the truth. Wanted to explain everything. The widow role, the coup, the threats, all of it. But I couldn't. We're safe, I said firmly. I promise. It was another lie, but it was the only thing I could give her. At 7:45 p.m., I walked into the Gramercy. The bar was exactly as I remembered. Low lighting, leather booths, the kind of place where business deals and affairs both happened quietly. Cassian was already there, seated in a corner booth, 2 glasses of wine already poured. He stood when he saw me, smiled. Isolde, thank you for agreeing to meet. I slid into the booth across from him. I needed to get out of that house, away from all of it. I understand completely. He pushed one of the wine glasses toward me. You said you wanted to talk. I've been thinking about what you said, about Benedetto, about survival. I wrapped my hands around the glass without drinking. And I think you're right. I think we're both being positioned as scapegoats for something bigger. Cassian leaned forward. I'm glad you see it. But I need to understand the full picture before I commit to anything. I need to know what I'm really stepping into. I met his eyes. How did you know to approach me? How did you know I'd even consider an alliance with you? He smiled. Because I've been watching you since the beginning. Since before Evander's death, actually. My pulse quickened. Before? Benedetto brought me in 6 months ago. Asked me to help modernize the family's public image, clean up the legitimate businesses, make everything look respectable. Cassian swirled his wine. But he was already planning the transition even then. Already thinking about what would happen when Evander was no longer a factor. You're saying Benedetto planned Evander's death 6 months in advance? I'm saying he planned for the possibility, and when the opportunity presented itself, Cassian shrugged. He took it. What opportunity? Your hotel, the Aurelius. Cassian's eyes glittered. Evander had been meeting with someone there, someone Benedetto didn't know about, someone who made him nervous, so Benedetto had the building monitored, watched the patterns, learned the security gaps. My hands tightened on the glass. And the elevator malfunction? Not a malfunction, a very precisely timed override. Cassian leaned back, clearly enjoying this. Benedetto needed Evander isolated and visible, needed a window where his security would be split, his attention divided. 5 minutes in a stalled elevator with a civilian witness gave him exactly that. So he used me. He used the situation. You were just collateral damage, I finished. echoing Evander's words from the safe room. Exactly. But then you became more valuable than anyone anticipated. Cassian's smile widened. You negotiated. You set boundaries. You proved you were smart enough to survive but not powerful enough to be a real threat. The perfect widow. The perfect bridge between the old regime and the new. And you? I asked. Where do you fit in all this? I'm Benedetto's insurance policy. The legitimate face he can point to when the authorities start asking questions. The man who will marry the widow and make everything look clean and legal and above board. He reached across the table, his hand covering mine. But I'm not interested in being his puppet forever, and I don't think you are either. This was it, the moment Evander needed. If we move against Benedetto, I said carefully, we'd need proof. Something that shows he orchestrated the ambush. Something that can't be denied. I have proof. Cassian said it so casually, so confidently. Bank records, communications. Even the override code used on the elevator, I found it in Benedetto's private files 6 weeks ago. You have the actual code? Sitting in my secure cloud storage, along with the payment authorizations to the tech who executed it. His thumb brushed across my knuckles. I've been building my own insurance policy, Isolde, because I knew eventually Benedetto would try to dispose of me too. And when that happens, I'll have everything I need to bring him down. And Evander? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Do you know who was there when he died? Cassian tilted his head. That's the beautiful part. No one died. Evander survived the ambush. Benedetto's people failed. My heart stopped. What? Oh, you didn't know? Cassian's smile turned cold. Evander Carminati is alive, Isolde. Has been this whole time, hiding, planning, probably building a case against Benedetto just like I am. He leaned forward, which means we're all in a race to see who destroys who first. And I'd very much like to win. The room tilted. He knew. He'd known all along. When did you figure it out? I managed. About 2 weeks after the funeral. Little inconsistencies. Resources being moved that only Evander would move. Security protocols that only he knew being activated. Cassian's hand tightened on mine. And I knew if he was alive, he'd come back eventually. Probably using you to gather information. Probably promising to protect you if you helped him. I don't know what you're... Don't lie to me, Isolde. You're terrible at it. His voice stayed pleasant, but his grip on my hand was iron now. You've been reporting to Evander this whole time. Every conversation we've had. Every move Benedetto's made. You're his inside source. And he's been using you just as thoroughly as Benedetto has. Fear spiked through me. Emma, I said. The panic word. Cassian's eyes narrowed. What about Emma? The door to the adjacent room burst open. Evander stepped through, flanked by 2 men I didn't recognize. Cassian released my hand instantly, standing up, his expression shifting from smug to calculated in a heartbeat. Evander, he said smoothly. What a surprise. Sit down, Cassian. I don't think... One of Evander's men moved. Fast. Cassian sat. Evander's eyes found mine. Are you all right? I nodded, not trusting my voice. Good. He turned his attention back to Cassian. You just confessed to conspiracy, accessory to attempted murder, and working with a hostile foreign organization. All recorded. All admissible. Cassian's mask finally cracked. You can't. I can. And I will. Evander's voice was ice. You're going to give me every file, every record, every piece of evidence you claim to have on Benedetto. And then you're going to disappear. If I disappear, Benedetto wins. No, if you disappear, I win. Because you just gave me everything I need to dismantle his coup and prove you were working with Volkov. Evander leaned down, hands on the table, getting into Cassian's space. You thought you were playing both sides. You weren't. You were just another piece I needed to remove. Cassian looked at me. You set me up. Yes, I said. After everything I told you, you tried to have my niece kidnapped. You fed information to the Russians. You knew Evander was alive and you were planning to, what? Blackmail him? Kill him yourself? I stood up. You're not a victim, Cassian. You're a mercenary who made a bad bet. For a moment, something ugly flickered across his face. Then he lunged. Not at Evander, at me. I didn't have time to move, but Evander did. He was between us in a heartbeat, one hand catching Cassian's wrist, twisting it backward until something cracked, and Cassian screamed. "Touch her again," Evander said, his voice utterly calm, "and I'll make sure you spend the rest of your very short life regretting it." The two men pulled Cassian away, restraining him. Evander turned to me, his expression shifting instantly from cold fury to concern. "Did he hurt you?" "No, I'm fine." "You're shaking." I was. He stepped closer, his hands framing my face, tilting my head up so he could see my eyes. "You're safe. I've got you. It's over." And then, before I could think, before I could second guess, I kissed him. It wasn't soft. It wasn't tentative. It was weeks of fear and tension and chemistry breaking all at once. My hands fisting in his shirt, his arms wrapping around me, pulling me closer, closer, until there was no space left between us. He made a sound low in his throat and kissed me back like he'd been waiting for this. Like he'd thought about it every moment since that elevator, like someone cleared their throat. We broke apart. One of Evander's men was studiously looking at the ceiling. The other was dragging a still cursing Cassian toward the exit. Evander's hands stayed on my waist. "We should talk." "I know." I was breathless. "You said we needed to talk. After." His thumb brushed my ribcage through the silk of my dress. "First I need to deal with Cassian, and then Benedetto, and then, his eyes met mine. "Then I'm going to offer you a choice. A real one." "What choice?" "Later." He kissed my forehead, quick and fierce. "Stay here. I'll send someone to bring you back to the estate. Don't leave this hotel until they arrive." "Evander, please." The single word held so much weight. "Okay," I whispered. He left. I sat in the booth for 5 minutes, my heart still racing, my lips still tingling, and tried to make sense of what just happened. I didn't move. 40 minutes later, the estate-issued secure phone buzzed with an estate security directive. "Mr. Carminati says leave through the side entrance now. Driver waiting." The car that picked me up wasn't Evander's. It was Benedetto's. I didn't panic immediately. The driver was one of Benedetto's regular security team. The route was familiar, back toward the estate. But when we passed the turnoff for the guest house and kept going toward the main mansion, my stomach dropped. The car pulled up to the front entrance. The driver opened my door. "Mr. Carminati is waiting for you in his study." Not a request. I climbed out. Benedetto's study was all dark wood and leather, the kind of room designed to intimidate. He sat behind his desk, a glass of scotch in hand, looking utterly relaxed. "Isolde, please sit." I stayed standing. "Where's Evander?" "Dealing with Cassian, I imagine. Quite the performance tonight." Benedetto smiled. I listened to the whole thing. Very thorough confession. My blood went cold. "You were listening?" "Of course. You don't think I'd let Cassian operate without surveillance, do you?" The moment he started receiving payments from Volkov, I had him monitored. Benedetto took a sip of scotch. "I knew he'd eventually try to flip someone. I just wasn't sure if it would be you or Evander who took the bait." "You knew Evander was alive." "I suspected. Confirmed it about 10 days ago when certain assets started moving in patterns only he would use." Benedetto set down his glass. "Which brings us to our current problem." "What problem?" "You and my nephew have been very busy. Building cases, gathering evidence, setting traps. Very impressive." His eyes hardened. "But you forgot something crucial." "What?" "I'm still in control. Of the family, of the business, of you." He stood. "Evander can expose Cassian all he wants. But the moment he surfaces publicly, I'll make sure everyone knows his widow has been sleeping with him while playing grieving martyr. I'll destroy your credibility, your family's safety, and any leverage you think you have." "You're bluffing." "Am I?" Benedetto pulled out his phone, turned it toward me. Photos, dozens of them. Evander and me in the safe room, on the terrace, in his car, the kiss at the Gramercy, all taken from angles that made it look sordid, planned, conspiratorial. "One phone call," Benedetto said quietly. "And these go to every media outlet in New York. Your sister sees them. your mother, your niece. And suddenly, you're not the tragic widow. You're the woman who helped fake a death for personal gain. My hands were shaking. What do you want? The same thing I've always wanted. Cooperation. You marry Cassian, or whoever I choose to replace him. You legitimize my leadership. And in exchange, I let your family live normal, safe lives far away from here. And Evander? Stays dead, or stays gone. I don't care which, as long as he's not a problem. The door opened behind me. That's not going to work for me, Uncle. Evander walked in, and he wasn't alone. Lucia Santoro followed him. Then Antonio. Then 3 other men I recognized from family gatherings. Benedetto's expression flickered. What is this? A vote of no confidence. Lucia said coolly. We've reviewed Evander's evidence, the elevator override, the shell companies, your unauthorized deals with external families. She placed a folder on the desk. You orchestrated an assassination attempt on the heir and tried to install a foreign asset as his replacement. That's not leadership. That's treason. You can't prove. We can. Antonio stepped forward. Cassian's already given a full confession. Bank records, communications, everything. And Evander has the override code traced directly back to an account you control. Benedetto looked at Evander. You'd destroy your own family over this. You tried to kill me, Evander said flatly. You used an innocent woman as a pawn. You endangered a child. You allied with our enemies. He leaned against the doorframe, utterly calm. I'm not destroying the family. I'm removing the cancer. And what? You think they'll just let you walk back in and take over? Benedetto gestured at Lucia and Antonio. You've been legally dead for 3 months. You have no standing. He has our votes, Lucia interrupted. Unanimous support from the board. You're out, Benedetto. Effective immediately. For a long moment, Benedetto just stared. Then he laughed. You're making a mistake, all of you. Maybe, Evander said. But it's our mistake to make. And the photos? Benedetto's eyes cut to me. You think those won't surface? They won't, Evander's voice was ice. Because if a single one appears anywhere, I'll make sure every crime you've committed for the past 20 years becomes public record. The legitimate business you're so proud of? Gone. Your accounts? Frozen. Your freedom? Revoked. He stepped closer. You're going to retire quietly, move to Sicily or wherever you'd like, live on the pension the family grants you, and you're going to stay very, very quiet. And if I refuse? Then I'll stop being merciful. The threat hung in the air. Benedetto looked around the room, saw no allies, no escape. Fine, he said finally. But this isn't over. Yes, Evander said. It is. The room cleared slowly. Lucia and Antonio took Benedetto away to finalize the transition paperwork, which I suspected meant ensuring he actually left the country. Then it was just Evander and me. You okay? He asked. I don't know. I sank into one of the leather chairs. Is it really over? The coup is. Benedetto's neutralized. Cassian's being handled. He crossed to the desk, poured 2 glasses of scotch, handed me one. But there are still pieces to clean up. Like me. Like us. He sat in the chair across from me. I need to make a public statement. Explain my absence. Control the narrative before someone else does. What are you going to say? The truth. Modified. He took a sip. That there was a credible threat against my life. That I went into protective seclusion while investigating. That the threat has been neutralized and I'm resuming my position. He paused. And that you had nothing to do with any of it. You were an innocent bystander who was coerced into a role you never asked for. Will they believe that? They will when I'm done. His eyes met mine. Your name gets cleared, publicly, completely, and then you're free. The word landed heavy. Free. What about Emma? I asked. Already arranged. Security escort back to Cleveland tomorrow if that's what you want. Or she finishes her program here under protection. Your choice. And my family. Benedetto's photos. Destroyed. Every copy, every file. I made sure of it before I came here. He leaned forward. No one will ever see them. No one will ever know. I believed him. So I just go back to my life? Pretend none of this happened. If that's what you want. Evander set down his glass. Or you stay. My heart stopped. Stay? Not as widow, not as pawn, as my advisor, my strategist. His voice was rough, uncertain. You see things I miss. You think 3 moves ahead. You negotiate like you were born into this world instead of dragged into it. He stood, crossed to where I sat, crouched down so we were eye level. I don't want you to stay because you're trapped. I want you to stay because you choose it. Because you want this. Want? You, I finished. He exhaled. Yes. I set down my own glass, reached out, let my fingers trace the scar along his jaw. What are you offering me, Evander? Partnership, real partnership. Not marriage for optics or alliance for survival, though we can discuss that later if you want. A ghost of a smile. I'm offering you a place at the table, a voice in decisions, the kind of power that comes from being essential, not decorative. And personally, his hand covered mine against his face. Personally, I'm offering you everything I have, my trust, my protection, my... He stopped. Say it. My heart. The words came out quiet, raw. I know it's too soon. I know you have every reason to walk away and never look back. But I need you to know, this isn't about convenience or strategy or keeping you close for safety. His eyes burned into mine. I want you. I've wanted you since that elevator. And if you give me a chance, if you choose to stay, I will spend every day proving you made the right choice. I couldn't breathe. I need to send Emma home, I said finally. She deserves to finish her summer without armed guards and secrets. Done. And I need time to think, to process, to figure out who I am when I'm not playing a role. Take all the time you need. But I'm not leaving. The words came out steady, sure. I'm staying. Not because I'm trapped, not because I'm afraid, but because... I leaned forward, my forehead resting against his. Because I see you too, and I think we could build something here, something real. His hand slid into my hair. You're sure? No, but I'm brave enough to find out. He kissed me then, slow, deep, devastating. When we finally broke apart, he was smiling. Welcome to the family, Isolde Merrick. I haven't agreed to marry you. Yet. Arrogant. Accurate. He stood, pulled me up with him. Come on, let's get you home. The guest house. Wherever you want. Guest house, main house, penthouse in the city. Your choice. I thought about it. Guest house, for now, but leave the door unlocked. His eyes darkened. Dangerous invitation. Good thing I'm not afraid of you. You should be. I know. We walked out together, his hand warm in mine, and for the first time in 3 months, I felt like I could breathe. 3 days later, I stood in JFK's private terminal and hugged Emma goodbye. You sure you're okay? She asked for the 100th time. I'm sure. I smoothed her hair back. And I'm sorry. For the secrets. For the danger. For all of it. Are you staying in New York? Yes. With him? The guy from the estate? I smiled. Yes. Is he good to you? Very. She studied my face. You look different. Happier. I am. Good. She hugged me again. Don't be a stranger, okay? I won't. I promise. I watched her board, watched the plane take off, and felt the last piece of guilt lift. Evander was waiting by the car. Ready? He asked. I took his hand. Yes. And I was. Thank you for watching to the end. If you liked this video, kindly subscribe and tell me where you're listening from. I appreciate all your feedback. The kind words mean a lot. Thank you for letting my stories keep you company. It truly means more than you know.